One of the things that I do hope that you guys do, as well as I do when I get into moments of self doubt or self pity, and I'm trying to fight for my self confidence back, is I take stock of all the things that are in favor in my life. For lack of better words, the privileges. For instance, I am a male, so I do have the male privilege. I am also the firstborn of my family, so I do have that first son, first male privilege. And believe it or not, being black is also a privilege as well. Regardless, yeah, there are some things that, are counted as disadvantages, but being black also has its privileges. So when I take stock of those things and I sit back and realize, is it wrong for me to lean on my privileges? Is it selfish? Is it selfish to be aware of my privileges and use those for my advantage? So the only reason I ask this is because some of us sometimes deem it unfair when we see people utilizing their privileges. For instance, some of us are more attractive than others, of course, so they use their pretty privilege. Some of us are more muscular. Some of us are taller, so they use their physical privilege, right? Those are just physical appearances. Some of us are born into levels and classes in society, and we often have to, or those people are forced to partake in that privilege. And it may not be something that they definitely chose, because not all of us choose the paths that we are in life or where we're born into, but we definitely reap the benefits of where we are at the beginning of our lives. So some of us sometimes take somewhat of a negative approach. And when we see somebody somewhat over leveraging their privilege, we negate that by framing their entire successes, their accomplishments, and their progressions in life by framing it all around their privilege. Is that fair? So when you frame it that way, you have to wonder, are you angered at that person's privilege, or are you angered because you don't have that privilege? Some of us, including myself, sometimes would wish, hey, if I had just this one extra attribute in this life, or another attribute, say if I was born into a richer family, or if I was maybe 4 or 5 inches taller, or maybe if I was a little bit lighter. And these are not things that I'm struggling right now. I don't think I ever struggle with these things, but sometimes we often think like, if I had this, my life would be dramatically better. But so often that's not the case. See, the thing is, the flip side of all these privileges is that these privileges come with a slew of other problems as well that we don't often see. And we clearly don't see it because we're not partaking in that privilege. See, here, check this out. If you can see me right now, if you're watching me on YouTube, if you have a stable internet, you have that privilege, right? If you can hear me, if you can audibly understand what I'm saying, you have the privilege of hearing. And those are just very small, minute privileges of the able-bodied person. And sometimes we take advantage of that. Sometimes we take those things for granted. So the question remains, are you obligated to use your privilege to better other people's lives? Are you obligated to utilize what you've been given and what you've been blessed with to help other people? And in my opinion, I do think so. I do think that the world would be much better if the people who were privileged with certain things, with certain accesses, with certain levels of income, with certain levels of expertise, with certain levels of knowledge, to bestow these things onto other people so that other people are less ignorant, are less well-to-do, or less in need. I just feel like the world would be a better place. And I don't want to sound like an altruistic mantra, kumbaya type person, but I do feel like that's a big purpose as to why certain people are placed in certain areas. And look, obviously some people use their privileges to tear people down and to make people feel less seen, less heard, less felt, less understood. But the flip side to that is all these other people using their privileges that either they worked for or they were born with to help other people. And I believe that the world would definitely be a better place if more of us would just check our privilege. Yo, once again, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, I want to thank you so much for listening and sticking around. And hey, if nobody's told you, you are appreciated, you are loved, God loves you. So make sure you love yourself.